Tell me that's not Mr. Vegas performing at my fucking party. And I remember like maybe you getting mad at him, like, yo, I booked you. Who's that guy or something? And they're like, we're here, Spring Street. The place is rammed, it's packed full of people. It was totally empty. It's fun, it's industry friendly, it's a safe space for women. I look back and I realize like we were doing a great service to the culture of New York and just the culture in general.
Hey there, it's me, Roxy Cottontail. You might know me as a DJ, artist, designer, and New York City party promoter, or from my bunny logo. I'm putting all that on the table and writing about the years that transformed music and the New York City scene. I've interviewed 250 friends and colleagues I admire. I ask all and reveal all. Please join me in the tales to rediscover the 90s and the Y2K magical landscape of music, art, technology, and streetwear. This is Roxy's Tales.
DJ Gravy, grew up all around New York City, Brooklyn, Bronx, Manhattan. I'm a musician, I'm a DJ, I run a media platform and work with a lot of artists and I'm always just pushing the vibe, pushing the culture, trying to bring cool people together.
Your media company is LargeUp.
Yeah, LargeUp, it's a Caribbean music, culture, arts platform that I was working in that space and just saw like it was missing. And I saw the opportunity to do something that I thought could have a lot of impact.
My guest this week on Roxy's Tales is a promoter of all great things Caribbean, DJ Gravy. DJ Gravy is an incredible reggae dancehall DJ and a promoter establishing the Rice and Peas Party in the mid Y2K era. His media company LargeUp is an extension of all the community connecting he started back then. From the Caribbean to New York City and worldwide, it is a great honor to share DJ Gravy's story. Without further ado, DJ Gravy.
You became a DJ when?
I got my first hip hop promo in 1984 from a security guard. I was 7 years old. So
Wow.
yeah, it's like, certain things were just happening around me. When I look back, I realized Rocksteady crew used to be right outside my apartment when I lived in Manhattan, like where my first memories are from. They'd be breakdancing on my corner, so
Wow.
all these things were like, and then I moved to the Bronx and Red Alert lived in the, well, his sister lived in the building next to mine. And just like hip hop was there and that whole culture was there. But I bought turntables in 97. I was 19. People started offering me gigs. And I was like, nah, I'm not ready. I'm like trying to get through the A side of a cassette tape without fucking up. So eventually I took a gig, It was at a Japanese sushi bar in Midtown, just called the Sushi Bar, I think. And it was like a restaurant on one floor and a lounge on the next floor. My friend Ross Cush, who was a really dope reggae dub type of DJ, Haitian kid from Brooklyn, he saw me at my very first set. And I was like, oh no, I hope I was like, was I good? And he was like, I loved your set. Next time you play, can I talk on the mic and MC for you? I was like, yeah. I played a gig downtown with a bunch of like jungle kids and stuff like that. And that was interesting, but I didn't get too much response there. But then I went back to the sushi bar and played a set with Ross Cush on the mic. Sounds of DJ Gravy. And I was like, yo, this is fire, and had a blast. And worked with Cush a bunch for years.
The DJing started to take off for you when?
I started playing at a drum and bass party in the small room. It was like the hip hop room, but I would play mostly reggae and dancehall. That was probably like 99. It was called the Mathematics Party.
Okay, I've heard of that.
I think the club was called Vanity. It was on 23rd Street by like 23rd and like Park and Lex over there.
Okay.
It was like an upstairs thing. Mickey Finn came and played. Like they had some big like drum and bass people like come and rock there.
Yeah, I'll look up the venue name because I think there were some motherfucker parties hosted there also.
Yeah, that was a cool moment. I did that one several times. Yeah, and actually Ross Cush came and emceed with me, I think at least at one of those too, which people loved because the junglists love like that
Yeah.
style of like sound system, chatting, talking.
Yeah. It's so interesting too, like how big jungle and drum and bass was at the end of the 90s.
When I've been in Europe the last few times in the last couple of years, I played a festival in Portugal. And after we played, I was playing with Sister Nancy, but after we played, Goldie did like a after party thing in like a tent. And yo, everybody there was under 30 and they were losing their minds to it. I was like, yo. And then I toured Europe the following year, with PopCon, and just we went to UK twice, and I caught the drum and bass vibes. I met some drum and bass people, producers, this and that. And
Oh
yeah, I saw
yeah.
it. It's not like I ever left the UK, but it's definitely back in general.
I always loved the late 90s for that reason.
Oh, it was
Yeah.
amazing. And when I started learning about drum and bass and realizing, like, when I started hearing more of the raga jungle in New York, it was more like a hip hop kind of thing. But when I went to London, where it's actually from, I saw like the real essence of it. This is Jamaican sound system. Everything that they do was the same as a Jamaican sound system. It's just the beat is like a double time. It's a different
Yeah.
style of track, but that's where I really started to catch, that drum and bass was like a byproduct of Jamaicans and reggae and
Yeah, I mean, that was I feel like besides Bob Marley, my real introduction to like all those raga jungle remixes back in the day were so heavily influenced
it's
by
about to come back.
Jamaica.
It's about to come back. Yeah, that was one of the things that I saw, that like even kids that didn't know a lot about reggae or dancehall, they had an appreciation through something. It might have been through drum and bass or through, you know, KRS and Mad Lion or some hip hop type of
Yeah,
reggae hybrids and whatnot. But people around me, most of my friends were like hip hop, house, rare grooves and funk and that kind of stuff.
yeah,
And I just like always loved reggae, and I thought this would be cool. This is like having my own lane. It's not just doing what everyone else is doing. I was buying hip hop records, and I played them too, but ultimately started with reggae with these first gigs. I was already really heavy into it. So now just like really learning how to properly run a set and, entertain any different type of crowd with this style that I chose to go with was like a fun challenge for me. And to bring it to new spaces, I think even then, maybe, I don't even know if it was conscious yet, but
yeah.
ultimately I was bringing reggae into spaces that other people weren't doing that.
Because you went to a performing arts high school, right?
Yeah, I went to, music and art, performing arts, LaGuardia High School. It's right by Lincoln Center. So many famous, New Yorkers went there, actors, rappers, artists, everything. It's an amazing place. Basically being with like all the most talented kids from the five boroughs. But I think I had told you before a story where the first kid I actually met there was James Sheffield, aka Blue Gems, who had dreads and a daishiki. It was like the eighth grade orientation before we start the ninth grade. So it was probably like spring 1991. He was just off the chain. He looked like he was ready to like join De La Soul or something. Like, he just had crazy swag and was like the funniest dude ever. So that was the one person I met that day. He was definitely like way in the mix with your world and my world. Like, that's where me and him would, reconnect a lot of times, was at like events with you, or, that scene.
Yeah. And so when did DJing become your like full-time hustle? Or has it ever been?
I was pretty full time at DJing. I'd say probably right around the time I met you and connect, or like around the
Yeah.
time I first played Sway was '05 with you. Um, and I had known that place, like some other people, as, McGovern's, which was like a rock bar. We
Yes.
used to hang out at Wetlands, and when Wetlands was like, I don't know, annoying us for whatever reason, we'd walk over to, McGovern's and catch like, we knew like different bands that played there and stuff.
Bands
So yeah,
played
so
at McGovern's?
oh yeah, like, John Popper from Blues Traveler used to play
Yeah.
there, like with side projects, and a group called Xanax 25, Psycho Moto Goat, Cherokee Sex Workshop. Like I was friends with all these. I've always been into everything. I've always
Yeah.
been everywhere that I can be, musically especially. So yeah, and then when I came across your thing, people were telling me about Mondays at Sway. All the streetwear people are there. They're plugging volcanoes into the wall and shit. Um,
Crazy.
it was like, yo, you have to go there. Everyone's burning it down, and it's like all these, really dope DJs are playing. It's a whole scene. As soon as I came out to that, it was like, I don't know, it was probably coming almost every Monday or something like that. I feel like, everyone, it became definitely like the place like that, which is wild to think because right now it's like how poppin' could a Monday night weekly be in New York? It was a real era for sure.
It
And I
was.
love that you're doing this because, the kids will never really.
I mean, I hope a Monday night comes back around like that one day, but it does seem like, I don't know, we were there at the right place and the right time. And to have a Monday night just be the most off the wall, wild time ever, it does seem hard to replicate that again.
I believe in like frequencies and stuff. And sometimes when you're tapped into a frequency and you just put it out there, you just find other people tapped into that frequency, from the
Yeah.
music, the visuals, the whole vibe. And definitely like all the young, creative, cool kids in New York were pulling up there. And again,
Yes.
like Blue Gems and certain people I saw, even like Mark Ronson, probably, who I remembered because of Blue Gems, because they were friends from high school days and stuff like that.
Yes. So, but you were familiar with Retail Mafia, correct?
Yeah, that's what when I first got that description, that was definitely, yeah, your
Yeah.
Monday night at Sway. I didn't know you yet. That's definitely where right early on met like DJ L. The kid that told me about it told me about DJ L. I think he had like a thing for her and stuff. And he was like, "Oh, I helped this girl carry a crate of records," and she got up there and was playing like Mob Deep and shit and da da da. I was like, "Yeah, that sounds crazy," like the way you described her.
Yeah.
Because there weren't a lot of like women DJs at that time, like very few. I'd met like maybe five out of the first 1,000 DJs I met were women, maybe literally
Yeah.
five. I definitely was like, "Shit, I want to play at this party. This is the vibe." And Synapse, who's like to this day a close friend of mine. So Synapse basically, I guess, connected with you
Yeah.
and got a night there and he brought me in. So, he was
Nice.
like a homie like that, always opening doors for me. And I just remember like between me and him being like the type that bring way too many crates to play vinyl, we were like that booth was piled to the ceiling with crates of
Yeah,
records.
that booth was crazy small.
I definitely remember getting a dope response, like, playing dance hall in there because I don't think anyone had. I mean, I know you had like Queen Majesty in the mix.
Yeah.
I remember eventually seeing Max play there for Cosmo's birthday. That's where I brought up the conversation of us doing Rice and Peas. I told you that I had just started the Rice and Peas party. We started at APT in like February '07. I had a different name for the first two events we did there. The third event there we did, I called it Rice and Peas. And everyone I mentioned Rice and Peas to laughed and had a response when I said the Rice and Peas party. What do you think of that? Yeah, they were like, yo. Definitely all my Jamaican peoples were like, best name. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
it. You're the gravy, go. So I think, yeah, the first or second one that we called Rice and Peas, we partnered with Jamrock Magazine, which was
Hmm.
like a Jamaican magazine, and he brought all these like print models who maybe were featured in that issue or something. It was an issue release of their magazine. That was definitely one of the nights that helped set us off. I wanted to bring it to the scene the way I would with a DJ set, but then it would go back to hip hop or whatever else.
Yeah.
I was like, I want to do a night, where it's fun, it's industry friendly, it's a safe space for women because some of these parties I would go to, sometimes it would be a little hectic.
Yeah.
And I was like, damn, I want to create a space where that same energy and fun vibe happens, but like women don't feel threatened or uncomfortable. And that was always like a big principle for me.
Yeah.
And just like something where we could bring everyone together.
I remember this conversation too, because you were like, you know, I wouldn't want a place for this to be home.
Yeah. Bo Parisi, aka DJ Weed
Leave
Cologne,
cologne.
who was also in the mix with you independently of me. And
Yes.
he worked at a reggae 7-inch distributor called Music Ambassador in Brooklyn. That's how I met him, was going out there to buy records
Oh,
for,
wow.
and he would throw parties with all the most like relevant Brooklyn and New York City, like Jamaican DJs and Caribbean DJs. Like he had all these guys because he worked at the record stores, and then he threw parties. He did one at Novo, and he had like a lot of the most heavy people in the whole scene there, but like no crowd. It was just these like dance hall fanatic industry types or whatever,
Yeah.
but like no people to fill the room kind of thing. And he was like just he wasn't organized really, but he had great relationships. So I actually started it with him. I was like, yo, what if we did something together? You have all these like really dope DJs who who are down the rock with you because
But was
he
Max a
brought.
part of it early on
Yeah.
too?
'03, I started going to Max's parties at Submission on Bowery,
Hmm.
where he played with Eddie Stats. It was called Heavyweight Thursdays.
Yes.
And that was something I'd never seen because he's like already really industry connected kind of kid. Totally different than me. I was coming like from more like the streets and stuff. I definitely identified that he was doing something totally different than anybody else. Like there was no one else connecting those worlds. He's bringing the hip hop sensibility into this, dance hall space and stuff. But then I was at Sway with you and seeing Max just shell the place with dance hall and hip hop and stuff. And I told you I have this party going with Max, um, and and Bo, and I don't think you knew the other people at that time, but it was DJ
Yeah.
Maya who had brought her brother, Micro Don, rest in peace. And Bo would always kind of have Brian original vibes. Like anytime he'd play your party, like he'd just end up be like, yo, Brian, play. And I remember like maybe you getting mad at him, like, yo, I booked you. Who's that guy or something? But Brian's just like ride or die kind of like soldier homie of ours. We had other people, DJ Shortman, Scarrett Boy, who I ended up bringing to meet Diplo, and he became, making him basically the front man of Major Lazer. But yeah, we had a massive crew of like DJs, um,
Yeah.
and
It's our
we needed
first.
a home, and I was like, yo, if you like this vibe that Max is doing, like I'm doing a party with him we're trying to find somewhere to bring it. And I think I was asking you about just getting me in at Sway. It didn't occur to me when you were like, yeah, you could do it on a Monday. I'm like, you would do that on a Monday, a dance hall all night? I want to do dance hall, reggae, soca all night. You're like, yeah, let's bring it. And I was like, oh shit, Roxy, you're the shit. Because I just figured the party was such a mishmash. I didn't know if like you were ready to deep dive into something like kind of a real curve. For
Yeah.
like you've done a lot of everything, but this was like a real specific curveball to go like make it into like a dance hall bashment Caribbean type of party. And the first one we did was August 2007. There we go. Nice. Yeah, Assassin, who now goes by Sasco. This is probably our first real proper like album release party as Rice and Peas.
Yeah.
VP Records. We partnered with Irie Jam at that time.
What's
Um,
Irie Jam?
Irie Jam is a radio station and
Okay.
big Jamaican promotion company. They did a live broadcast from Sway, and at 7 p.m. or so, we paid the bouncers or whoever to like open early because they wanted to be there early to do this thing, and it worked. This is MySpace era, right?
Yeah.
So it wasn't so immediate like everything is now. They did a live broadcast. They plugged in to the phone line at Sway, and they're like, "We're here, Spring Street. The place is rammed, it's packed full of people." It was totally empty, but what they did, it worked because I don't know how much of it was that versus all the pre-promotion we had done, but
Yeah.
a crowd showed up to Sway that night like I'd never seen anything close to that many people inside and outside. There was like the wrap truck outside. There was, easily 100 something people outside the spot. Yeah, it was bananas. And yeah, Sasco performed.
This is
Mr.
that.
Vegas came, yeah, he performed. I mean, people were going ape shit. I mean,
Yeah.
these photos, I think capture just how sweaty and how fucking crazy. The vibe was in there. I remember I was in the back at one point during this performance, and I hear "die die do," a totally different voice than Assassin. I go, tell me that's not Mr. Vegas performing at my fucking party, and that was huge for me. I lost it. Like
Yeah.
Assassin was a huge artist and had big songs, but I mean, Mr. Vegas's Heads High.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, he had some of the biggest records. I think the next one was a few months later, Allison Hines, that November. Yeah,
Yeah.
November. It was a release party for Allison Hines, who was like, top female in soca. And even to this day, she's a big inspiration to Rihanna because she's like the local female star. It was also an album release party for
Clash.
27 Clash, had a rhythm where, a bunch of different songs on the same beat. And, it was produced by a group I was managing, and, and I was DJ for Clash at that time too. So, we made it this like double album release party.
The parties that you were curating with Rice and Peas, like they just kept coming and like it was just like here's more flyers. It's just like hit after hit. But
Oh,
this was one of my favorite. I think this was my favorite Rice and Peas ever.
oh yeah, Left Side was a vibe. That was Max's homie right there. And it looks like Scion flipped the bill for it. Shouts to
Good old
Dana.
Scion money.
Um, yeah, and we were like, oh, we have a budget from Scion to like bring somebody. Who should we bring? And yeah, we brought Left Side, who, had his song on Hot 97, More Punani. He was like, yo, gravy, man. I'm so appreciative to you and Max for bringing me up here. This is dope. It was his first time like in New York as this personality. Maybe he'd been in New York, but not as Mr.
Yeah.
Evil and all this. And he goes, I really appreciate you bringing me here, but I'm looking at this crowd like they're not gonna know none of my songs or nothing. I was like, yo, you might be surprised. There's a lot of real dance hall heads here. I know they look different. And that was the thing. When your crowd and our crowds all started mishmashing, it's like didn't look like a dance hall party, but that's kind of what was cool.
Curating Rice and Peas in this like downtown mix of a party that I had started, I think opened everyone's ears. And I was like really proud to have, contributed to a little bit of, because I loved also the mix up of people and styles and genres. And I just thought that it was worth the risk because it's music that I love.
I love that. Yeah, I'm a risk taker too. Like it's really no fun without that. Like I said, I like the challenge.
After Sway, you took it to Santos, right?
Yeah, Larry from Santos, Kimian brought Larry to my house one time and I met him and he told me he was building this mega amazing dance club. And then Kimian brought him to one of the Rice and Peace parties at APT.
Oh,
One of
wow.
his first that one, yeah, he brought him to a really good one. And Larry said to me, he goes, "Yo, I go to reggae parties and stuff. I've never seen, I didn't know they were like this." I go, "They're not," because I knew I was doing something. Like
Hmm.
bringing like that whole Jamaican wave to APT, that was like unthinkable.
Yeah.
He goes, "Yo, when I open my spot, like we're gonna do some stuff." And I went to Santos on a Friday night and hanging with Larry and a bunch of the owners. And then at like 4:30 in the morning, something Q-Tip came down from the decks, and I was just like, "Yo, I'm so happy. This is the best weekly part. Like I'm getting to do everything I ever dreamed of as a DJ. This is it for me. I love it." He goes, "Man, the only thing is the downstairs is not it's not working. Nobody wants to be downstairs. Everyone wants to be up here. And I'm putting all my best DJs, all my homies down there." He goes, "What if you did something like how we used to do with like," and he mentioned Ross Kush, because he used to do a party with my homie I mentioned earlier, Ross Kush. He goes, like a cool dub vibe where people can kind of chill out because upstairs is so hype. Maybe it would be like the chill out room at a rave, or like, you could play dub and just have people mellow out. And if you even hold 20, 30, 40 people, we'll be psyched because we're over capacity upstairs and there's a line up the block. So we're trying to fill that room. So from the first night, it was just me. I played, the early warm of reggae into like as the room filled up into more dancehall and just doing what I did. And it was a hit from the very first night. And then I remember at 1 a.m. Funk Flex came on upstairs as a guest or crashed the party or something or another. And I saw a lot of people left and went upstairs. So after a nice like 3.5 hours or something I'd rocked, I was like, oh, it's thinning out. It's cool. I had a great set up till now. Like there's definitely something here, you know? But
Yeah.
then like 10, 15 minutes later, everyone came back downstairs, even more people. And it got like fire hazard-ish in the downstairs. And people said upstairs was thinning out. And it was like, oh shit, this shit is really working. I think that the really cool part of the story is like venues that previously would never have fucked with this shit because you took the chance with it. And then everyone kind of saw that. And then also bringing it to Santos between Sway and Santos, like it really got us on the map with what we were doing for rice and peas. And we were doing greenhouse and we were doing all kind of venues that just you'd never believe would do it. And I mean, even years later, I started a dance hall party with Stretch, and we did Public and Le Bon at the Standard Hotel and stuff like really doing things I dreamed of always. Like I want to bring my wave to these super dope venues who would never think of in a million years doing this shit, but I'm going to find my way. '07 is like really when nightlife went really corporate. And what I mean by that is just like these like Wall Street guys took over the clubs with their black cards and basically dictated what music and what, and the environment became really centered around them and their money. And that scene got so boring. Like New York was quickly losing its edge. I
Yeah.
saw it at that time. And I think back that we were doing this and going the furthest against the grain as anyone could imagine. I'm proud of that
Me
because
too.
I'm a lifelong New Yorker and like watching the changes that happen in New York is it's sensitive for us as New Yorkers who remember the magic of the old days. And I think were able to sort of balance out the scales a little bit with this, just to counteract
Hell
all
yeah.
the big money bottle service stuff that was happening like right around the block. I look back and I realized like we were doing a great service to the culture of New York and just the culture in general. And for me, especially in these times, we're living in like the most divisive times of our lifetime for sure, and maybe even a couple generations. I feel like things just seem to be becoming more and more divisive with politics and everything else. So, this job of bringing different kind of people together is like really God's work.
Hell yeah. Preach gravy.
I mean, I realized this in reverse. I did it driven by a really pure force. But I think when I started to look at it, like, what am I doing here? I'm bringing the most unlikely people together and creating the most fun environment where your differences become so unimportant and the connection between you and them becomes everything. And so, so I just see that like the model we created here traveled to the biggest cities in America and I really think has its like global impact because you see how dancehall and the culture is now sort of sewn into Beyonce and Justin Bieber and Drake and Rihanna and I don't know, we were like doing it all along.
We're fortunate to have had each other and a place to celebrate one another in that was like felt like our living room.
And we're keeping it alive too. We lost Micro and about 6 years ago, and that's still a fresh wound for all of us because he helped people. Like I look at this music thing like we're like doctors or something. We're healers because this healing that we do for people is so necessary. People are people work hard, people are stressed out, they get out, and see friends and hear music and dance and lose themselves in the moment. And it might seem like a lot of people are like, oh, nightlife is so superficial, this, that, the third. And there's definitely very superficial aspects in certain parts of it. But, when you bring something authentic that's from the heart and it really connects with people, like you're doing a great service for them. Like, think about how much therapy costs or doctors, drugs, depression, these kind of things. Like, it's pretty hard to be depressed, in this environment. Like, it was literally, even if you were dealing with that, maybe, which I'm sure
Yeah.
people do, once you're in this environment, you're getting healed for real. So, I mean, we deserve a lot of credit,
I love.
uh, as just any of us making the music, bringing the people, creating this environment.
Yay. Thanks, Gravy. I love your like ending. We're
Oh,
healers.
thanks. Thanks so much for having me.
Thanks, Gravy.
This was great.
Thanks for hopping by. That's it for this week. Don't forget to subscribe, like, share, comment, and stalk. Bounce, little kitty.